Justice League movie is finally here. We finally have a live-action interpretation of DC Comics' Justice League. I saw it tonight, and here are my thoughts. So if you guys are viewers on my channel, you probably already know my thoughts on Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman, which I really enjoyed this year. I think it's the best DC movie so far. So I was really optimistic for Justice League because it looked like there was a turning point for DC Comics films. It looked like they had a better understanding of how to improve upon their films in terms of narrative, story, and just, you know, bringing light on really good characters from really good comic books. And Justice League is a really important property of DC. Like, I was very optimistic about this movie, and I was ready to see Batman, Aquaman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg on the big screen. I was very excited for this movie, even though Batman v Superman didn't live up to my expectations. That's just my opinion. If you like the movie, that's totally fine. And after seeing this movie, I gotta say, it is getting to a point where DC is getting better with its films. This isn't a bad movie, but it's also not a perfect movie. There are problems, but for the most part, I did enjoy it in terms of a DC film. One of the positives I have to say about this movie is Ezra Miller as the Flash. I really enjoyed the Flash in this. I really feel as though Ezra Miller was basically the Robert Downey Jr. of this movie. I feel as though he brought a lot of the humor, and I saw him as a character in this. Even though there wasn't a movie before Justice League, like a Flash movie, I really bought into this character, and I really enjoyed him in this film. There's just a lot of quippy lines and a lot of humor and a lot of human characteristics that I just felt like this was a character, and my favorite character in the Justice League film. There's been a lot of talks to if they should make a Flashpoint movie after Justice League. They're really trying to see if Justice League is going to be good, and whether or not, if it's good, they've decided that they're going to make a Flashpoint movie. And even if this film doesn't get a whole lot of money or just the grade that it needs on Rotten Tomatoes, I definitely feel as though The Flash is the positive of this movie, and they should definitely make a Flashpoint movie. I think Wonder Woman's standalone film really helped her out in this film because she really stood out. She's a character with history, and that's why I appreciated her a little bit more than the others in this film, because you understand where she's coming from and what happened to her before the events of Justice League. And I love the little callbacks that happened in the past film that really helped her out in this film. Ben Affleck, once again, is good as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I feel as though they made a really good choice in making him the leader. With Superman gone, they really had to fill in that gap in terms of a leader, and Bruce Wayne fits the role perfectly. I really like this Batman, and I like the idea of him going around the world and searching for these characters in order to build the Justice League. And it's also just really cool seeing him interact with these characters. Like Aquaman, for example. There's some really cool dialogue between Aquaman and the Flash that I really liked. However, there are complications. You see, whenever there's a team-up movie and there's dialogue between different superheroes, it helps that there are movies before these team-up movies to help with the history and background of these characters. And that's essentially why we watch these team-up movies, is to see characters that we already know, but from separate movies interacting now in the same movie. But Aquaman doesn't really have his own movie yet. That isn't coming out until 2018. So that was just something that I picked up on, was I didn't really appreciate the character interaction as much because I don't really know a whole lot about Aquaman yet. I definitely think that the Aquaman movie should have came out before Justice League so we could gain an understanding of how this character operates. And it just didn't feel really special to me when I saw Bruce Wayne talking to Aquaman because I don't really know much about this character yet. Aquaman is definitely cool in this film. The way that he interacts in the ocean and when he goes to Atlantis for brief moments are definitely some of the coolest scenes, and the aqua environment is so cool. And this makes me really excited for James Wan's Aquaman in 2018. I can't wait for that. I think that's going to be a really cool movie in terms of the environment. And this film, even though it takes place before Aquaman, and I wanted Aquaman to take place before Justice League, I'm pumped for Aquaman. I really am. Cyborg in this film, I think Cyborg looks cool. I don't know if they approached this character as much as I wanted them to approach him, because in this film, he is dealing with the aftermath of becoming Cyborg, and it's not really working for me. He's really mopey and depressed in this, which he has every right to be because he's not really fully human anymore. He is a cyborg. But they could have conveyed that feeling in more ways than just him being mopey. He could have been also angry. He could have been also sarcastic about it. And he was almost really robotic in this. I wish I could have seen the more human side of Cyborg in this, and he was just there to be the computer guy, and he was very robotic, and I just didn't really see that human side of him, and he's supposed to be both robot and human. He is a cyborg. So I just felt like they could have showcased the human side a little bit more with Cyborg, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait for that. I guess this was just kind of like the Cyborg pre-stage. That was just my thoughts on it. Also, Superman. When he returns, the stuff that they do with Superman in this is actually really cool, and I will admit they make Superman a little bit more likable in this film, but the way that they bring him back just isn't special enough to me. Actually, the entire climax of the film is very rushed, and it doesn't feel like there is a lot at stake. It feels like they wanted to get the climax out of the way and really finish the movie. When the movie was finishing, I honestly thought, hold on a second, is the movie ending? Like, this is the ending of the film? The movie is only an hour and 50 minutes long, and, you know, that is still fairly long, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it felt rushed. The film felt incredibly rushed, and I feel as though they played it really, really safe in this. There doesn't seem to be a lot at stake here, and the villain, Steppenwolf, he just feels like a villain. He feels like a CGI villain, and there really isn't anything special about him, except for the fact that he is a villain that the Justice League need to fight. So, I didn't really think this film had a really good villain either. I thought he was just a CGI monster, really. And how they actually stop him in this film, it doesn't feel special either. Like I said, the climax is incredibly rushed. They play it safe. And when the film comes to a close, I honestly was in utter disbelief that it ended, because I felt as though there was so much more to explore, because it just felt like the movie, nothing really special happened. It just feels like these superheroes came together and they stopped this supervillain. Nothing really changed except for the fact that Superman obviously returns. It's the Justice League. You guys know Superman returns. And even that doesn't really feel special either. However, if you guys are DC fans, there's a lot of other Easter eggs that are in this film that you guys are gonna really appreciate. But in terms of the film itself, like I said, I felt as though it was really rushed, and I felt like there just wasn't a lot at stake here. And just like in Batman v Superman, they're fighting in like a city-like area, but you don't really see anybody. You don't see any civilians whatsoever. There is one family, but that's it. You see people in the far background, but I wouldn't be surprised if those were like fake CGI implemented people for green screening purposes. It just doesn't feel like there are civilians whatsoever in this, and that's what really makes these big, you know, superhero team-up movies, is that they're not only fighting supervillains, but they're also saving civilians. That's what being a superhero is about, is saving people's lives. And I just didn't really feel like there was a whole lot of people to save. Yes, they saved this family, this one family that you see in the film, but there's just not a whole lot there in terms of like this entire city or town that they're trying to save. Guys, Justice League isn't bad. I actually did like a lot of it, and I got goosebumps whenever I saw these characters come up on the big screen. I did like The Flash a lot. I definitely think they should make a Flash movie, but I do feel like this film could have been better. It's definitely rushed. I don't know why Warner Brothers feels the need to limit the time frame of these movies. Make your movies like longer than 2 hours. Like, obviously not 3. I understand that you have to limit the time frame of your movies because you need people to like go back to your movies to rewatch them so you can gain box office revenue. But if you keep limiting your movies and there's stuff that you're taking out, people aren't going to go back to the movie theater. You've made your movie basically bland by speeding it up. So what I would say is, if you want to make your movies longer, that's totally fine. But you have to put in more meat in your film so people will go back to watch it. There just isn't a lot of emotional depth in this. I didn't feel a whole lot of emotion when Superman returned. And that says a lot. Because it's supposed to be emotional when this awesome superhero that we all know and love returns. And I don't feel that whatsoever. So yes, guys, that's my thoughts of Justice League. My honest thoughts. I did like the movie to an extent, but I will say that there are problems. Comment down below what you thought of this movie. If you've seen it yet, like the video, share it, and please subscribe to PixelTalk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and gaming content. Thank you guys so much. I'm Corbin Stuckey, and this is PixelTalk.